Bitna struggled in pain in a pool of blood. The moment before her death, her soul separated from her body. Bitna looked in fear at her body lying motionless with no signs of life. Surprisingly, a path covered in roses appeared on the white snow. Bitna calmly walked step by step towards the frozen lake. She was attracted by a strong light coming from under the lake. A loud noise caused the lake to shake violently. Bitna was frightened when she saw a mysterious black gate. Around the gate were imprisoned souls crying. Along with that, there was a burning line of words above the gate. The gate slowly opened. A dazzling light attracted her soul. Bitna curiously stepped inside. She was shocked to see the murderer's soul disappear before her eyes. In front of her was the powerful judge of hell along with her devil assistant. They were surprised that a judge's soul had misleaded into this place. Bitna panicked and said that someone stabbed her in the park. She also didn't understand how she could come here. The judge of hell said that this place only judged murderers. Despite the assistant's objection, the judge still decided to sentence Bitna to death. She would be exiled to purgatory for thousands of years. Bitna knelt in fear in front of the demons. She had never killed anyone. Why did she have to suffer this punishment? However, this woman did not want to hear Bitna's explanation. The judge coldly sent Bitna's soul to purgatory. At this moment, the gate opened. The cold-hearted, the Lord High Steward appeared. The tentacles growing from his back made the judge scared. The Lord High Steward was furious that the judge dared to send innocent people to purgatory, but the judge showed no remorse. Her job was to send the souls that appeared here to hell. The Lord High Steward angrily ordered the judge to complete Bitna's work. Within a year, she had to capture 10 murderers and send them to hell. The judge firmly opposed that order. The Lord High Steward went crazy and shot tentacles that stuck tightly into the judge's body, warning her that if she dared to disobey, what awaited her was death. The judge struggled in pain and despair. She agreed to the Lord High Steward's order. The judge appeared in front of Bitna's body. She gently touched Bitna's forehead and saw all her memories. The judge then merged with Bitna's body, and Bitna was now teleported to a giant castle surrounded by many pillars of fire and scary monsters. She was scared when a monster rushed towards her. Luckily, the glass was strong enough that the monster could not destroy it. The elevator took Bitna to the top floor, where the wardens were waiting to capture her soul. Bitna quickly ran away from the warden, but the warden's power was too great. A bull-headed monster rushed to attack Bitna. She was scared and tried to resist. The monster went crazy and scratched her back. Just as the monster was about to eat Bitna, a powerful beam of light destroyed the monster. Many people doubted the judge's story. Most of them thought she was crazy. Today, the judge came to get a medical certificate from the hospital. The results showed that the judge was mentally ill. However, the judge did not care at all. Now she needed to quickly go to the trial of a police officer. Dahoon was sued by a criminal for assaulting him. The judge did not care much about this trial. She leisurely took out a can of soda from her bag and drank it. The judge asked him why he did not have a lawyer with him. Dahoon said that he believed in the law. What he did was completely right. Dahoon recounted the night he chased the suspect. That man was a rich young master. This suspect looked down on the law, so he held a knife and threatened him. In self-defense, the police knocked the knife out of his hand. The prosecutor next to him angrily said that the police had beaten his client too much. His client could no longer eat or drink normally. The judge said that his client should have died already. Everyone in the courtroom was surprised by the judge's attitude. She angrily said that Dahoon was absolutely right to do so. There was not much time left. The judge asked Dahoon if he regretted what he had done. Dahoon confidently stood up and said that he regretted not beating the young master to death. The judge smiled and ended the trial. Right after that, she finished her shift and was about to leave, when suddenly the judge was kept by a group of children. The teacher wanted to ask the judge to explain the meaning of the statue of the goddess of justice. The judge happily said that the statue was blindfolded to play hide and seek with the bad guys. A curious child asked why the goddess had to hold a sword. The judge honestly said that it was to kill all the murderers. But when seeing the teacher's expression, the judge quickly corrected her words. The judge said that this statue was the goddess of justice. However, justice does not exist in this world. Bad people live good lives, while good people live miserable lives. Dahoon stood next to her and was very impressed by this judge. As soon as the judge reached the parking lot, Dahoon ran to greet her. He had something to say to the judge, but she quickly gave all her things to Dahoon to hold, then drove away. Dahoon was disappointed that he was ignored. However, he was even more impressed with the judge. After the judge left, Dahoon went to her office. He wanted to hand over all these things to her assistant. They were surprised when a handsome man delivered the things there. At this time, the judge had already arrived at the church, but before the power of the cross, she could not stand firm. The judge quickly put on sunglasses so that she would not see God. She walked up behind a woman who was praying. The woman was afraid when someone approached her. The judge introduced herself as coming here to fulfill the woman's wish. The woman had been cruelly treated by her boyfriend. Although the woman had applied for a waiver of punishment through the power of the devil, the judge saw the woman being brutally beaten by her boyfriend. The judge gradually took off her sunglasses. When the woman looked into the judge's eyes, she was a little waving. However, the woman quickly left. The judge hurriedly chased her. The boyfriend's trial would take place tomorrow. If the woman continued to hold such a view, her boyfriend would be set free. The woman did not care care about what the judge said. At this moment the police appeared. The woman said that the judge kept bothering her. The police asked to see the judge's papers, but she had already given them all to Da-hoon. The police immediately asked her to come to the police station to give more statements. The judge happened to meet Da-hoon at the police station. Thanks to him, her identity was vindicated. In order to get out of here quickly, the judge asked Da-hoon if their relationship was closer than this. Everyone looked at Da-hoon in surprise. The judge said that she followed that woman to investigate something. After finishing the report, the police released the judge. Before the judge left, Da-hoon gave her the diagnosis paper. He looked at the judge sympathetically. Da-hoon said that he didn't care who she was, as long as she was a good judge. That was enough. Da-hoon had attended the trial early in the morning. The prosecutor stood up to accuse the ungrateful boyfriend, but the lawyer relied on the woman's request for exemption from the sentence to deny it. The prosecutor immediately showed pictures of the woman being brutally beaten. Everyone in the court looked at the boyfriend in anger. He pretended to be innocent. The prosecutor continued to accuse the suspect, but he cried bitterly. The judge saw this that asked him to be quiet. The judge coldly asked if he wanted his girlfriend dead. The boyfriend said he didn't want that at all. The prosecutor stood up and asked for a 1-year sentence. The judge looked at the boyfriend with disdain. She said she would see him again at the final sentencing hearing. The guards escorted the suspect to the car. Before returning to the detention center, he walked up to the woman's parents. The boyfriend smiled wickedly and asked how his girlfriend was doing. At the same time, the judge angrily returned to the office. At this rate, she would never meet her quota of sending 10 murderers to hell. The assistant suggested that instead of catching 10 people, she should find and deal with the serial killer. Then she would meet the quota given by the Lord High Steward. The judge angrily said that where could she find the serial killer now? At that moment, the police called. Da-hoon said that she must not release the boyfriend. Otherwise, the boyfriend would seek revenge on the woman. The judge felt interested in this police officer. What he thought was the same as hers. However, before that, the judge had to talk directly to the victim's family. The judge told the woman's parents her guess. The parents begged the judge to save their daughter. As soon as the judge saw the tears in the parents' eyes, she sympathized with them. She promised that she would make the boyfriend pay dearly. The judge wanted the two to reveal what happened between the woman and her boyfriend. After getting the information about the woman, the judge happily returned to the office. The assistant was trying to find the serial murder case, but he couldn't find it. The judge was excited to know more information about the boyfriend. In order to send him back to hell, the judge came up with a perfect plan. Today was the day of the sentencing hearing. Everyone was dissatisfied when the judge only fined the boyfriend by money. Da-hoon below was very disappointed with her decision, but the most desperate people were the woman's family. In order to get justice for them, Da-hoon went to question the judge. However, the judge said that she was only following the law, so she couldn't put him in jail. Da-hoon said that she had to think about the woman's feelings, but the judge thought Da-hoon was being annoying. Da-hoon was angry at the judge's attitude. Afterwards, he personally went to the prison gate. The boyfriend thought that Da-hoon had come to give him tofu to ward off bad luck. As soon as he reached out to take the tofu, Da-hoon dropped it on the ground. Da-hoon warned him not to think of revenge on the woman. Otherwise, Da-hoon would put him in jail again. The boyfriend angrily kicked the tofu away. That night, the woman didn't open the door to anyone. She had lost faith in justice. No matter how her parents tried to comfort her, she couldn't accept the truth. Da-hoon said that he put a smart watch in her pocket. Just when she pressed the button, the police will come immediately. Then time was passing by. Every day, Da-hoon would come to check in front of the woman's house. After making sure everything was safe, he would return to the station to work. His sister, also his superior, was worried about Da-hoon taking risks. She didn't want Da-hoon to spend too much time with a woman. There would be other places that needed his help. Because she stayed at home for too long, the woman felt bored, so she wanted her father to pick her up. That night at the judge's office, the judge was upset that the boyfriend didn't do anything. The assistant suggested that she use her magic weapon. The judge happily activated the universal mirror. It allowed her to observe what the boyfriend was doing. At the moment, he was in a hardware store. Seeing his sinister smile, the judge understood that he was about to attack the woman. The boyfriend appeared in front of the woman's house, pretending to be a police officer. As soon as the woman opened the door, she was scared to see her boyfriend appear. He frantically broke the lock and entered. The angry boyfriend beat the woman up. The woman was scared and begged him to spare her life. At the same time, the judge was watching his actions. The crazy boyfriend smashed the watch the police gave the woman. He threatened the woman that if she dared to call the police, he would kill her parents. As soon as the boyfriend left, the woman was so desperate that she wanted to leave this world. The judge smiled horribly when she saw that she had achieved her goal. Then the judge appeared in front of the boyfriend. He quickly wiped away the blood on his body. The judge asked him to go to a private place to talk. As soon as the boyfriend walked in front of the judge, a sword appeared in her hand. Purple energy radiated and surrounded the sword. The judge's eyes turned purple. Just as the judge was about to take action against this scum, the inspector driving the car suddenly rushed over to cause trouble. Da-hoon angrily grabbed the ungrateful boyfriend by the collar. He was so mad that he wanted to kill the boyfriend right there. At the moment Da-hoon took action, the judge stopped him. She said that what he was doing now was an abuse of power, but Da-hoon didn't care about the consequences. He was willing to quit his job to beat this guy up. However, his arm couldn't move. Dahun was surprised to see the judge so strong. At that moment, the police siren sounded. They quickly stopped Dahun. Afterwards, the police arrested the boyfriend on suspicion of stalking the woman. Before leaving, the boyfriend bowed to the judge, then gave Dahun a contemptuous smile. He was furious that the bastard dared to look down on him. The police quickly escorted him to the police station. Now it was just Dahun and the judge. He politely invited her to come with him in the car. The judge was scared when she saw a cross hanging on Dahun's car. She quickly took out her sunglasses and put them on. The judge curiously asked where they would go. Dahun didn't say clearly and took her to the woman's house. The woman's house had been sealed by the police. Looking at the crime scene, the judge could imagine what had happened there. Dahun uneasily asked the judge if she felt remorseful, but the judge said she didn't feel anything. If she sent the boyfriend to jail for a year, this would still have happened. Dahun was helpless before her attitude. The judge calmly explained that many people had lost their lives in cases like this. She was referring to the terrible crimes that the boyfriend had not had to pay for. Dahun firmly said that he would put the boyfriend in jail. He didn't need a selfish judge like her. The judge was worried that her plan would be ruined. She hurriedly chased after the police. After returning to the police station, Dahun directly questioned the boyfriend. He went crazy thinking that his girlfriend was dead. Dahun tried to suppress his anger. He said that the woman was still alive. The police rushed in just in time before the woman left this world. Seeing the woman crying and begging for death, Dahun felt extremely guilty. However, he did not have enough evidence to convict the boyfriend. The police had to release the bastard by law. The superiors ordered Dahun to keep an eye on him at all times, so Dahun took him home. Despite the boyfriend's displeasure, he had to listen to Dahun. He warned the boyfriend that the police would be watching him every day. If he dared to harm the woman, he would suffer the consequences. Little did Dahun know that someone else was also following the boyfriend. The judge from afar was looking for an opportunity to send the boyfriend to hell. A new day had begun. The judge was frustrated after watching all night without any results. The assistant curiously asked about the results of the case. The judge regretfully said that the woman was still alive. They were trying to circumvent the laws set by the Lord High Steward. However, the trouble now was Dahun. If they wanted to kill the boyfriend, they had to get past the police guard. At the same time, at the headquarters, emergency arrest request to the boyfriend was rejected. Everyone was angry that he had escaped punishment again. The superior ordered Dahun to continue protecting the woman's family. His enthusiasm moved the woman's family. As soon as Dahun got into the elevator, the boyfriend from the upper floor came down in front of their house. He used glue to fog up the binoculars. Just as he was about to break the lock and enter, a text message came and made him change his mind. The next day, someone came to the woman's house to check. When she saw someone outside, the woman extremely panicked. The father hesitated and did not want to call the police. He did not know how long the police would protect them. In order to reassure his daughter, he personally went out to meet the man standing in front of the house. The father held a knife and wanted to kill the man standing in front of the door. Luckily, Dahun reacted in time and avoided the stab. He tried to calm down the panicking father. After realizing that the person standing in front of him was a police officer, the father breathed a sigh of relief and invited him into the house. Dahun came here today to give the woman a new surveillance watch. This made the woman feel guilty. Because she dated the wrong person, she had put her parents in danger. At this moment, the inspector received a call. He turned around and looked at the woman's family in stunned. Meanwhile, at the judge's office, the judge was very happy to have completed the task. It turned out that the person who sent the message to the boyfriend last night was the judge. The boyfriend thought that his girlfriend had asked him to meet her, so he went to the meeting place. He angrily walked to an abandoned building. This place used to be the scene of a crime. Standing in front of the desolate scene, the boyfriend was a bit scared, but then he decided to go inside to check. Just as the boyfriend pulled out his hammer to defend himself, the judge confidently walked down the stairs. The boyfriend was scared when he saw the judge here. He quickly hid the hammer he had prepared and asked why the judge was here. She excitedly said that she came here to kill him. The boyfriend thought it was just a joke. He loudly called his girlfriend out, but the judge's assistant came out of the room. He was also a devil with the ability to imitate other people's voices. The boyfriend was stunned when he was fooled. Only when the assistant left did he react. The judge said that the real trial was just starting now. She asked the boyfriend if he was the one who beat his girlfriend. However, he stubbornly said that his girlfriend was not dead yet. Seeing that this bastard still denied it to the end, the judge angrily pulled out her sword. The boyfriend was scared and ran out of the house, but when he opened the gate to escape, he was transported to a new world. The judge walked out of the room and grabbed the boyfriend by the neck. The judge's eyes lit up and looked straight at him. The boyfriend gradually fell into a trance with no way out. In the blink of an eye, he saw himself sitting in a fancy restaurant eating, and the person opposite him was the judge. She was furious that he dared to ignore her. In this world, the two of them were lovers of each other. Just as the boyfriend was about to leave, the judge knelt down and begged. Only now did the boyfriend realize what his girlfriend had been through. On his birthday, the boyfriend broke up with the judge. She got mad and slapped him hard. The boyfriend tried to fight back, but he was no match for the judge. Then she beat him up. The boyfriend looked at the basement baseball bat in the judge's hand in fear. She coldly hit the boyfriend hard in the face. He cowered in fear and hid in the restroom. But even then, he still couldn't escape the judge's hands. The boyfriend had to go through everything the woman had to endure. Even though the judge was taken away by the police, she appeared in the next scene. Every time, he had to endure the most painful torture. Even though the boyfriend begged the judge to forgive him, she didn't give him a chance. The judge angrily picked up a hammer and beat him up. The pain made him unbearable. Day after day, the boyfriend was tortured by the judge to the point of despair. He was so scared that he decided to leave this world. Back to the present, the boyfriend was terrified when he saw the judge standing in front of him. He wondered if this was hell. The judge introduced herself as a devil. She came here to punish bastards like him. The boyfriend didn't believe what the judge said, so she beat him up to make him believe. Now the boyfriend believed that she was a real devil. He knelt down at the judge's feet and begged for mercy. As soon as the judge answered the phone, the boyfriend took the opportunity to sneak attack her. He strangled her and pressed her against the wall. The pain made the judge laugh. She gently grabbed his neck with one hand and threw him to a corner. From now on, the judge would beat him the same way he beat his girlfriend. She swung her leg and kicked this bastard straight in the face. The crazy boyfriend picked up a piece of glass and attacked her, but to the judge, he was just a bastard. The boyfriend cried out in pain. He knelt down and admitted his mistake in front of the judge. This was the result the judge wanted. She took out the magic sword and stabbed him down into hell. The boyfriend's soul was affixed to seal. The gates of hell slowly opened and sucked the boyfriend's soul. The next day, the police discovered the boyfriend's body. However, his body was no longer intact. Tahoon was surprised to see the words on the boyfriend's forehead. Through the initial investigation, the boyfriend was murdered by someone. However, they could not find any evidence of the mastermind. The crime scene was cleaned up without a trace. Everything was restored to its original state. The police had a headache investigating the case. All they found was that the boyfriend had gone to meet someone. The scar on the head of the corpse meant hell. Tahoon felt familiar because he had heard this word somewhere before. At the same time, at the judge's office, the superior called the judge up to reprimand her, asking her why she didn't settle down to be a judge. If it weren't for the congressman secretly protecting her, she would have been fired long ago. At lunchtime, the colleagues were curious when seeing the judge reprimanded. However, what the judge was concerned about was who the congressman was. They pointed at the TV. That man was the congressman. It was the judge who had broken off the marriage with the congressman's son. Only Bitna knew about this. The judge was just using her body. That night, at a private party, the congressman invited the judge's superior to dinner. He wanted the superior to keep an eye on the judge. Then he advised his eldest son to pay more attention to her. This made the younger son feel uncomfortable. That night, when the judge returned home, a woman invited the judge and the assistant to dinner at her house. Everyone in the boarding house was religious. The judge was so afraid of the cross that she always wore sunglasses. The landlady promised to reduce her rent by half if they embraced Catholicism. The judge hurriedly signed the joining list, but when the landlady read the Bible, the judge quickly ran away. A new day began. After her boyfriend was murdered, the woman was able to overcome her fear. So the inspector made an appointment with the woman to talk. The woman told her that the judge had come to see her a few days ago. The judge said that the woman did not need to feel guilty. The death of the boyfriend was the price he had to pay for his crimes. The inspector was surprised that the judge was so warm like that. That night, while driving home, the judge suddenly appeared and blocked Tahoon's way. He was surprised that the judge appeared here. She said that she came here was want to date Tahoon. She also bought a lot of alcohol and food. Tahoon had to listen to the judge and drink with her. Part of him also felt guilty for using harsh words towards the judge. The judge's purpose in coming here was to find out information. She wanted to know more about the cases that the police had not solved. However, Tahoon was very cautious. Therefore, she decided to let him get drunk. While drunk, Tahoon accidentally told the judge that he had killed 3 people before. This surprised the judge very much. She tried to lead Tahoon to confess his crimes, but he was already drunk. The judge was surprised to see tears falling from his eyes. The sky began to brighten. Tahoon was surprised when he woke up in the camping tent. At this moment, the judge walked over. She asked if what he said last night was true. Tahoon begged her to keep it a secret. The judge agreed to this request. Suddenly, she held out her hand in front of Tahoon. The judge smiled, then drew her sword and stabbed Tahoon in the stomach. He painfully held his wound tightly. Tahoon gradually collapsed to the ground. Tahoon's childhood memories gradually appeared in his mind. Since Tahoon was a child, he has been a worn boy. Every day he wanted to return home quickly to play with his parents. But tragedy struck one fine day. Tahoon walked home with a gift in hand. He was terrified when he saw his parents murdered by a mysterious person. The murderer, holding an axe, walked step by step towards Tahoon. Before he could react, his mother told him to run away. Seeing Tahoon struggling in pain in front of him, the judge was satisfied. Just as she was about to send him to hell, a wisp of smoke appeared in front of the judge. The Lord High Steward angrily stepped in front of her. He said that Tahoon was not a criminal. To punish the judge for her mistake, he ordered that she must now kill 20 murderers. If she did not accept, the Lord High Steward would kill her right here. The Lord High Steward gradually disappeared into the mist. Tahoon's wounds gradually healed to their original state. He was in a panic, not knowing what was happening. When he lifted his shirt to check the wound, Tahoon was horrified to see that the wound wound was healing itself. The judge stepped in front of Dahoon. He then quickly took her to the police station. However, no one believed what he said. The older sister was angry that Dahoon was still drugged. No matter how Dahoon tried to explain, in their eyes the judge was the one who was harmed. She even mischievously raised the handcuffs. The older sister felt guilty and asked the judge to forgive her younger brother. Despite Dahoon's attempts to explain that the judge had stabbed him to death, the judge was quickly released. Dahoon watched in horror as the judge calmly left. After escaping from the police station, the judge asked the assistant to go out for lunch. The assistant complained about why the judge was acting so uncertainly. Seeing his attitude made the judge angry. At this moment, the waiter walked over. The assistant felt that this place was a bit strange. As soon as he finished speaking, the waiter pointed a knife at the judge. She was curious about why a dead person was still alive. It turned out that the waitress's true identity was the warden. After letting Bitna escape from purgatory, she had to suffer punishment. The assistant hurriedly explained that the person in front of her was not Bitna. Now the judge was only using Bitna's body. The warden was surprised to be able to meet her idol here. The warden quickly knelt down to pay respect to the judge. The judge shyly told the warden not to kneel anymore. It turned out that they were all exiled to the mortal world by the Lord High Steward to complete mission. In order to help the judge return home quickly, the warden said that she would help the judge complete the mission. After hearing everything from the judge, the warden was curious about what she would do to Dahoon. Suddenly, an idea popped into her head. At the same time, at the construction corporation office, the eldest son was looking at the petition signed by Bitna. At this moment, the congressman walked in. He brought his son some nourishment. Seeing that his son was having difficulty in land clearance, the father gave his eldest son some advice. However, they were thinking about one person. That was the judge. They couldn't contact the judge. The congressman was surprised that their relationship had not ended yet. Meanwhile, at the police station, they were still investigating the boyfriend's death. The superior suddenly asked everyone if they believed the judge or Dahoon. Everyone thought that the judge was innocent. But with her experience as a veteran inspector, the elder sister felt that the judge was hiding something from everyone. His younger brother was also undergoing tests at the hospital. He wanted to prove that what he had experienced was true. However, the results came back that he had a mental problem. The judge laughed and walked over in front of him. She guessed that no one would believe him. Dahoon curiously followed the judge and asked who she was. The judge said that she came from hell. Now she was just temporarily residing in Bitna's body. Dahoon laughed and asked the judge whether she thought that he believed her ridiculous story. The judge didn't say much and directly took out the sword. Dahoon was scared because that was the sword that stabbed him this morning. In just a blink of an eye, the security cameras around here were all destroyed. Even Dahoon's phone was checked by the judge. He now had nothing to prove to everyone that she was a demon. The judge explained that she didn't intend to kill Dahoon. It was just an accident that she didn't want. She walked in front of Dahoon. The judge threatened that if Dahoon revealed that she had killed him before, Dahoon's life would end forever. After saying that, she quickly got in the car and left, leaving Dahoon standing there in confusion. That night, Dahoon returned to the campsite. He wanted to search for information about Bitna on the internet, along with information about demons. At that time, the judge had once said that no one would believe him anyway. This reminded Dahoon of the past. After escaping from the murderer, no one believed his testimony. Dahoon began to doubt himself. He threw the medical certificate results into the fire. At the same time, in a car on the road, the wife accidentally lost focus and caused the car to lose control. The whole car rushed into the deep sea. The husband quickly told his wife and children to climb onto the roof of the car. Water began to flood in and drown them. However, when it was the father's turn, the seatbelt was stuck. The husband shouted loudly for his wife to bring their son to shore. As soon as the son was safe, the wife turned back to save her husband. The water had now filled the entire car. The car gradually sank to the bottom. Under the pressure of the water, the wife could not open the car door. She painfully looked at her husband, who was crying for help. Because she was about to suffocate, she had to get to shore. The wife knelt down in the middle of the road and begged everyone to save her husband, but it was too late. The husband's funeral was quickly held. The angry mother-in-law beat her daughter-in-law for killing her son. She also wanted to take custody of her grandson. The wife knelt down and begged her mother-in-law to return her son to her. The mother-in-law could take as much money as she wanted. The case was quickly filed in court. The judge was frustrated that he had to handle an insurance dispute. The mother-in-law always showed a rude attitude. She didn't care about anyone at all. What she wanted was custody of her grandson. The judge got angry when she repeatedly challenged the authority of the court. The judge ordered someone to bring the mother-in-law out. She was angry to the point that rushed forward and continuously hit her daughter-in-law. She said that her daughter-in-law had received the insurance money and the man her daughter-in-law lived with before marrying her son. Why did he suddenly die? The mother-in-law asked her daughter-in-law if she had occupied everything. The judge accidentally heard the conversation. She was very happy that the case could be turned into a criminal case. The judge hurriedly returned to the office. She wanted to use the mirror to observe the wife's every move. It seemed that she had to meet the wife to talk. As soon as she stepped out of the office, the judge suddenly heard Dahoon screaming. He deliberately used a loudspeaker to call the judge down to meet. The judge angrily scolded Dahoon. She threatened him to remember her her true identity, but Da-hoon was not afraid at all. He calmly teased the judge. He wanted a chance to find out the truth about her. The judge warned Da-hoon not to follow her. Then the judge went to the school where the wife taught. She wanted to meet the wife to talk privately. The wife was curious about why the judge had to come here to find her in person. The judge smiled and said that she had heard that the wife was accused of killing her husband. The wife sadly recounted the first time she met her husband. At that time, the son was studying class which she was head teacher. The child's mother had passed away due to illness. Since then, the teacher gradually paid more attention to the child. The feelings between the wife and the husband began to grow. However, the accident ended that love. But what surprised the judge the most was that the mother-in-law had abandoned her own son. After 30 years, she appeared and asked to borrow money from her son many times. That was the reason she wanted to rob her grandson to get the insurance money. The judge felt uncomfortable when he heard the truth. Just when she was angry, Da-hoon came over. He deliberately followed the judge here. The judge rushed forward and grabbed Da-hoon by the neck and pinned him against the wall. She said that she had already warned him before. The terrifying power left Da-hoon unable to resist. However, he still joked with the judge, saying that she couldn't kill him, right? Looking at the judge's panicked expression, Da-hoon knew that he had guessed correctly. As soon as the judge got into the car, Da-hoon immediately followed. The judge was helpless and didn't know what to say. Da-hoon was also investigating the insurance case. The wife was the one who received 2 insurance policies. One was from her husband after the car accident. The other was from her ex-husband. Da-hoon suggested that the judge should meet the mother-in-law. However, the judge didn't want him to follow her. As soon as the sky started to brighten, the judge got dressed and prepared to go investigate. But what she didn't expect was that Da-hoon was there too. He said that he had been waiting for the judge since last night. The judge knew that she couldn't escape him. Before leaving, the judge destroyed Da-hoon's recording pen. Then she asked Da-hoon if he thought that using it would help him find evidence to prove that she was a devil. On the way, the two talked a lot. The judge said that since birth, devils don't have parents. But Da-hoon didn't seem to believe it. Suddenly, the judge told him to look into her eyes. Her eyes glowed a mysterious purple. Immediately, the dash cam mounted on the car was destroyed. Da-hoon was shocked when she demonstrated her ability. The two then went to see the mother-in-law. She is currently the owner of a small restaurant. When she saw the judge, she was unhappy. The judge mocked the mother-in-law that she had abandoned her son once. Now she even wanted to abandon her grandson. The mother-in-law was provoked by the judge. She immediately chased all the customers away. Then she led the judge home. Neither woman would give in. When she arrived, Da-hoon felt the familiar sound of the doorbell that his childhood memories came flooding back. The judge saw that Da-hoon was acting strangely, so he went in first. There was no one inside. The child really wasn't with the grandmother. She was angry when the judge didn't believe her. The judge suddenly checked the wardrobe. The child was already hiding inside. The judge asked why the mother-in-law why she was immure the grandson. She said that she was just taking care of him. The judge's purpose in coming here was not to take the boy away. The judge came here because he was curious about the wife's affairs. Why did the mother-in-law suspect the wife of killing her ex-husband? The mother-in-law said she had evidence. At her son's funeral, she saw her daughter-in-law cheating on her with another man. 3 days after the funeral, the wife gave her money and left the baby for 3 days. How could she stand that daughter-in-law? The judge laughed when he heard the evidence she gave. Only Da-hoon wanted to hear more of her story. As soon as the judge got angry, Da-hoon took out the cross from his body out. The bright light hurt her eyes. Then the child held her hand and took her to the beach to play. The boy said that his grandmother treated him very well. Suddenly, the boy asked if good people would go to heaven when they died. However, the judge said that wouldn't happen. The child then showed her the pictures he drew. Suddenly, the judge noticed something unusual in the picture. She asked the child that what person he drawn with his stepmother. However, the child didn't dare to answer. At the same time, Da-hoon was talking to her mother-in-law. She was heartbroken that her grandson had to live with an evil woman. The things that needed to be said had already been said. Da-hoon stepped in and called the judge go home. He was horrified when he saw the child covering the judge's face with a pillow. As soon as he picked up the child, the judge regained consciousness and said that she had thought it through. She asked the child if he could tell her about the night of the accident. The child remembered getting out of the car. He saw his mother glue the seatbelt. Then his stepmother deliberately drove the car into the deep sea. The child cried out in pain and called for his father, while his stepmother just stood there calmly watching the car sink. She threatened her son if he dared to tell anyone about this, she would kill his grandmother. The two were shocked when they learned the truth. Da-hoon comforted the boy. He understood that adults would not believe a child's testimony. The judge said that she would believe everything the child said. Da-hoon looked at the judge emotionally. Tears began to roll down his cheeks. The next court hearing had come. The judge had given the mother-in-law a suspended sentence. This made the stepmother angry. Although she had helped the mother-in-law, the legal guardianship was still in the hands of the stepmother. Since the day of the trial, the stepmother had repeatedly gone to her mother-in-law's house to demand her son. Each time, the mother-in-law resisted fiercely. One peaceful night, the stepmother put drugs in her mother-in-law's water bottle. As soon as her mother-in-law passed out, she took her son back. The frightened child faced the evil woman. She didn't know that the judge was watching everything. everything. At the same time, in front of their house, Dahoon was trying to break down the door to save the boy, but it was too late. Just as the stepmother was about to escape, the judge blocked her way. The judge coldly drew her sword and asked where the son was. It all started 4 days ago. After returning from her mother-in-law's house, Dahoon went to talk to the judge. When he was young, no one believed what he said. She was the first person to believe a child. Now he understood that she was a good person. Even if she was a devil, he would believe her. The judge was surprised by Dahoon's sudden change in attitude. After saying goodbye to Dahoon, the judge asked his subordinates to go out to eat. They felt that the judge had been acting a bit strange lately. The warden asked the judge if she had feelings for Dahoon, but the judge denied it. In hell, devils are not allowed to have feelings for humans. If anyone develops feelings against their will, they will be punished extremely brutally. A new day has begun. The judge is observing the stepmother. At this time, she's causing trouble in front of her mother-in-law's house. She and the police want to take the child to live with them. However, they were strongly opposed by their mother-in-law. At the same time, the grandson helped an old lady on the road. To thank the boy, the old lady gave him a bottle of water. However, the boy did not know that the old lady was his stepmother's lackey. She had put drugs in the bottle of water. That night, while the grandmother and grandson were sitting and talking, the filial boy offered his grandmother a bottle of water. The boy said that if she drank this, her leg would stop hurting. The grandmother was moved and drank the whole bottle of water. As soon as she finished drinking the bottle of water, the stepmother appeared in front of the house. The boy was scared when he saw the person who killed his father. Before being taken to the car, the boy called Dahoon. The boy was scared and said that his mother had brought him back here. At this time, the phone was turned off. Dahoon and the police quickly set out to find the boy. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. At this time, the operator reported that they had found the location where the boy had called. When Dahoon ran to the location, he saw the boy sitting in a corner shivering from the cold. He quickly took his shirt and put it on the boy. At the same time, a strange number called the stepmother. The mysterious person said that they had evidence proving that the stepmother had killed the husband. She was furious that someone dared to interfere with her plans. It was obvious that only she knew what she had done. From putting drugs in the water bottle to threatening the son, there was one thing she did not expect. As soon as she left, the boy quickly contacted the police. The boy had overcome his fear. Dahoon comforted the boy for his courage. Let the adults take care of everything from now on. The judge was ready to meet the stepmother. As the stepmother drove to the meeting place, the dead husband's car suddenly surfaced on the water. She was frightened as the car sped towards her. The door slowly opened. The judge confidently stepped out, her eyes determined and her attitude resolute. The stepmother now realized that she had been tricked. The judge ordered her assistant to go first. When there were only 2 people left, the judge pulled out a sword from thin air. The stepmother was frightened as the judge had strange powers. The judge smiled and threatened the stepmother with the sword. However, she still stubbornly refused to admit her guilt. For every lie, the judge sent the stepmother flying. The judge angrily grabbed the stepmother by the neck and threw her into the car. Water began to flood the car. The frightened stepmother begged the judge to spare her life. However, the judge only smiled and closed the sunroof. The car slowly sank to the bottom of the lake under the weight of the water. The stepmother tried to open the car door to escape but couldn't. She screamed in pain and despair. The air was running out. She slowly fell into a coma, just like what she did to her husband. Suddenly, the stepmother woke up. She found herself sitting in front of the judge, so she quickly crawled to the judge and confessed all her crimes. The judge promised that if she told everything, including her ex-husband, she would let her go. The stepmother said that she was tired of her marriage with her ex-husband. Just because of the house, that she knocked her ex-husband out, and she even pushed him off a cliff, then made it look like an accident to get the insurance money. After taking over the apartment, she coincidentally met an innocent man, ignoring that the man already had a child. The judge was curious as to why the stepmother brought the child back. The stepmother said that she felt guilty about her husband's child, so she took the boy home to raise. The judge was furious that the stepmother dared to lie to her. She rushed over and beat this evil woman up. She questioned the stepmother about how she said she loved her stepchild, but forced the child to kneel and then even deliberately drowned the child in the bathtub. The judge punched the evil woman in the face. She was furious at the beating. The judge asked her if she admitted to all the crimes she had committed. She showed no remorse at all. The judge's eyes lit up. Now she will have to experience the most horrible feeling in hell. In a blink of an eye, she found herself standing on the edge of a cliff. The judge smiled and asked her if she should let go. The stepmother freely fell down the cliff in panic, but as soon as she opened her eyes, she saw the judge in the role of the son. The judge laughed and got the stepmother under. Before she could react, she found herself tied to a chair. The judge happily put drugs in the cup of water and forced her to drink it. The drugs gradually took effect, making her unconscious. At this moment, the judge took a syringe and stabbed her. The scream of pain brought the stepmother back to the present. After going through all kinds of torture, the judge took a knife and stabbed the evil stepmother to death. The gates of hell were opened once again. Her soul was sucked into hell forever. After dealing with the murderer, the cleaning team came to erase the traces. The next day, people discovered the woman's body in front of the police station. The news scared everyone. The judge was happy that people were talking about the mysterious mysterious body, but the real reason she left the body near the police station was to get Da-hoon come to meet her. To prepare for the appointment, the judge went shopping with her subordinates. At the same time at the crime scene, Da-hoon suddenly realized that the stab wound was similar to the one caused by the judge. The murder method in both cases was the same. The judge quickly came under the police's attention. At this moment, the congressman came to see her. He wanted to invite the judge to dinner. If she showed up, he would tell her everything that happened before. The judge was curious, so he accepted the invitation. When she arrived at the congressman's private villa, while everyone was praying, the judge naturally ate and drank to his heart's content. The congressman laughed when he saw that she liked to eat and drink so much. The congressman felt that she had changed a lot. The judge was curious about her past. The congressman said that her family ran a Japanese restaurant abroad. Surprisingly, he asked her if she was no longer interested in politics. She was surprised that he had chosen her as his successor, but there was one thing she still wondered about. Why couldn't she find any news about the day of her accident? The congressman said that he had blocked the news. He didn't want outsiders to spread false rumors. The party was over. The judge drove back. She also brought a lot of delicious food for the warden. Seeing the subordinates eat delicious food made her happy. The body that the warden was using had lived a miserable life, so in this new life, the warden could reclaim justice for the body. A new day began. The judge had been focused on her work since early morning. Suddenly she received a call from the receptionist, saying that an inspector wanted to invite her to the station to cooperate with the investigation. When she arrived, the judge was disappointed to see Da-hoon directly investigating her. The police suspected the judge of being the perpetrator of the two cases, but she quickly shifted the suspicion to Da-hoon. It was clear that he was the one who had contact with the victims before they died. Everyone felt that the judge was right. She wondered if Da-hoon was happy that the stepmother was dead, but Da-hoon said that he felt angry that the perpetrator was not punished by law. Just as he was about to leave, the judge got into Da-hoon's car. She eagerly recounted her meeting with the congressman, but Da-hoon seemed uninterested. Da-hoon still suspected that the judge was the perpetrator. However, the judge said that she was not the perpetrator. Even though the judge destroyed his camera, Da-hoon was not angry. He took her home. Suddenly, an old woman appeared and said that the two of them should not be near each other, otherwise one of them would die. Da-hoon was surprised when she knew that he had died before. Soon after, the old woman left, leaving the two of them alone. Da-hoon remembered the feeling of being stabbed by the judge. While he was having trouble sleeping, his family appeared. His sister curiously asked if he had a girlfriend. Da-hoon was surprised when his older sister told the younger sister the story. These moments with his family helped Da-hoon feel more comfortable. The next day, the warden presented the judge with an unsolved case. The murderer was a serial killer. The only witness was the victim's son. However, the case had happened a long time ago. The judge did not expect that the case the warden mentioned was related to Da-hoon. At the time, Da-hoon was investigating the case of her stepmother, but no witnesses were found. While examining the crime scene, Da-hoon noticed that the can was crushed in the same way the judge crushed it. This made him even more suspicious of the judge. So he went to the judge's house to talk. He really wanted to know her true personality. Suddenly, the judge felt pain. The pain was so excruciating that the judge gradually collapsed. Da-hoon quickly knelt down to support her. The judge's heart began to beat rapidly. She gradually fainted in his arms. Da-hoon was worried when he saw the judge's condition. He quickly carried the judge on his back to the nearest hospital. After the judge was taken to the hospital, her subordinates rushed to visit her. Suddenly, the judge opened her eyes. Da-hoon thoughtfully asked her if she was okay. Suddenly, the judge sat up, that scaring everyone. She checked her heart rate, but everything was normal. The judge couldn't understand herself anymore. In order to clarify the reason why she fainted, the judge went to see the head of the department. However, the head of the department said that the test results were normal. The judge was very worried because at that time her heart felt like it was about to fall out. The head of the department asked her if she had felt any stress recently. It was possible that before she fainted, the judge had been under great pressure from the outside. The judge was startled and remembered that when Da-hoon opened the door and stepped forward, his voice made the judge unable to control herself. The doctor advised her to avoid those irritants, but the two of them had to investigate the case together, and the judge couldn't just suddenly dismiss Da-hoon. The doctor smiled and said that if so, she would have to learn to adapt. After returning from the examination at the head of the department's room, the judge was pushed in a wheelchair by her subordinates. This surprised Da-hoon. When the judge's health became abnormal, the warden was annoyed that Da-hoon kept showing up here. Da-hoon said that today was the judge's discharge day, so he came to visit. Suddenly, the judge stood up and said that let's go to work, that she also had something to ask him. In the car, the judge drank the entire can of soda as usual. Seeing her crush the can made Da-hoon suspicious. The judge asked why Da-hoon came to see her. Da-hoon said that he wanted to confirm what kind of person the judge was. When the judge heard this, she felt a little surprised. Da-hoon then drove the judge home. They met an old lady next door. The relationship between the judge and this old lady was not good at all. The two argued as soon as they met. Luckily, Da-hoon intervened in time. The judge did not expect that Da-hoon had bought the room across from her house. Now the two of them are neighbors. The reason he moved here is to find out the truth. Is the judge the murderer? The judge judge was also aware that Da-hoon suspected her, so she ordered her subordinates to investigate Da-hoon's identity. That night, the judge had an appointment with the warden. As soon as she opened the door to go out, Da-hoon secretly followed her. The judge smiled when someone daring to follow her, so she turned into a small alley. Da-hoon hurriedly ran after her to check, but he was easily distracted by the judge. The judge then went to the convenience store, where the warden worked part-time. The warden laughed at Da-hoon following the judge. The warden offered to let her handle Da-hoon, but the judge refused. The warden asked if the judge was free this weekend. The judge was surprised when the warden said there would be a closed meeting this weekend. It seemed that Satan had stolen something very important in hell and escaped. The warden said that if they caught Satan and handed him over to the Lord High Steward, they would most likely be able to return to hell. As scheduled, the three of them arrived at the meeting place early in the morning. Even Da-hoon knew about it. He secretly followed the judge into a restaurant. Da-hoon carefully entered and checked each room, but it was completely empty. Suddenly he felt a strong power. Da-hoon opened the door and rushed in. That he saw everyone was holding weapons. The manager was annoyed that someone dared to barge in. He pulled out a knife from hell and walked in front of Da-hoon. Da-hoon fearfully said that he was a police officer investigating a case. The manager asked why Da-hoon was here. He fearfully looked at the judge for help. The judge said that Da-hoon was her driver. The manager was angry at her arrogant attitude, but as soon as he knew the identity of the judge, the poor manager was extremely surprised. In hell, the judge is everyone's idol. The judge turned to Da-hoon and told him to be careful. There were only demons under the hell here. Seeing the demons showing off their power made Da-hoon scared. The judge was annoyed and wanted to kick him out, but Da-hoon refused. At this moment, the manager appeared and asked Da-hoon if he knew where Satan was. Da-hoon was confused and didn't understand what he was talking about. The judge quickly saved the day, saying that Da-hoon was just born and didn't know anything. The manager began to recount that 26 years ago, after Lucifer became the Lord of Hell, Satan, the second co-leader along with the Lord High Steward, rebelled against Lucifer. A fierce battle took place in hell. However, Satan could not resist the Lord, so he abandoned all his subordinates and escaped from hell. Before leaving, he stole Lucifer's treasure, the immortality stone. As long as Satan possessed the stone, he could live forever in human form. However, he had to pay a proportional price. In order to avoid Lucifer's pursuit, Satan had to hide in the lightning bolts. In a moment of carelessness, Satan dropped the stone to the mortal world. Since then, no one has heard of his whereabouts again. The judge was drowsy while listening to the manager's story. The demons gathered here to share information about Satan. Da-hoon did not expect the judge's status to be so noble. Da-hoon was curious about what the judge's mission was. The judge angrily walked up to Da-hoon and told him to leave if he did not want to die. But Da-hoon did not want to give up this good opportunity. They then went to give free meals to the people here. When Da-hoon was left alone with the manager pushed him against the wall. The manager was angry when Da-hoon saw him shed tears. In hell, if a demon sheds a single tear, he would be killed immediately. Da-hoon said that he would keep secret for the manager. The manager also knew Da-hoon's true identity. He was not a demon. Before the manager left, he advised Da-hoon to stay away from the judge. However, Da-hoon went against the manager's advice. He kept clinging to the judge and confessed his love. Upon hearing these words, the judge's body became weak. The manager was surprised to see the judge in such a state. That night, Da-hoon hurriedly returned to the police station. He tried to explain to everyone that he had encountered a devil's lair, but his colleagues ridiculed Da-hoon for having mental problems. His superiors asked Da-hoon to find evidence, otherwise all his words would be meaningless. The only evidence Da-hoon had was the soda can at the crime scene. At this moment in the rescue room, they received a distress call. When the police arrived, they were stunned to see the crime scene. The family of 4 was left with only the father. He was heartbroken that his wife and children were dead. Suddenly, he said that he knew who the murderer was. As soon as the police asked for the murderer's identity, he smiled wickedly and said that he had killed them. Da-hoon and his superiors quickly went to the crime scene. Inside were the corpses of 3 people. Blood had stained the floor. Da-hoon looked sadly at the pictures hanging on the wall. This case reminded him of his own past. The crime scene was similar to what his family had experienced. His superiors advised Da-hoon not to get involved in this case, but he did not listen to them. Da-hoon asked where the suspect was. At the same time at the police station, the suspect was being closely interrogated. His fingerprints were found on the murder weapon. However, the suspect said that he did not remember anything. His mind became unstable. The statements did not match each other. In order to investigate the case further, Da-hoon personally questioned him. Suddenly, the suspect's attitude changed. Now he was like a child who did not know where he was. Da-hoon was puzzled when he saw the suspect's appearance, as if he was talking to himself. The constant change in personality surprised everyone. Da-hoon gradually became impatient. He seriously asked the suspect if he had killed his entire family. The suspect still maintained his innocence. He was the one who had freed his entire family. His defiant attitude made Da-hoon furious. Suddenly, the suspect burst into tears and begged the police. He jumped up from his chair and hit himself in the face. Only when the suspect passed out did Da-hoon come to check on him. The suspect woke up in a daze, not knowing where he was. This was the first time the police had encountered such a case. The results of the psychiatric examination were also available. It was very possible possible that he had temporary amnesia? After the suspect's mind calmed down, Dahoon continued the interrogation. Dahoon had never told the suspect that he was a police officer. So how did the other personalities know Dahoon's identity? The suspect knew that he had revealed his loopholes, so he quickly explained that he was just guessing that. A new day began. Early in the morning, the judge was disturbed by her colleagues. The judge curiously asked everyone if they had ever felt their hearts beating fast. They all thought that the judge was just overworked. The judge was annoyed and went to the office. She wanted to hear what information the assistant had investigated. First was the attack at the harbor, but there were no casualties. The judge was angry when the assistant couldn't find any murder cases. The assistant said that there was a serious case. The murderer had murdered his entire family. The judge was excited when she found a case with many victims. She ordered the assistant to quickly investigate the information of this case. That night, the assistant pretended to be a journalist and went to the police station. After the investigation, the assistant reported the results to the judge. She wrote the murderer's name on the magic mirror. He was now locked up in prison. Looking at his strange expression, the judge was curious about what was wrong with him. The assistant explained that he was suffering from a personality disorder, but the judge didn't care. Her job was to send murderers to hell. In order to take the case, the judge called to the congressman for help. The eldest son was upset that the judge kept using his father, but the judge just laughed and said it was an investment in the future. The next day, the victim's mother came to visit. At first, the suspect was still scared and said that he was not the murderer, but in the blink of an eye, his attitude changed. He thought that everything was because the mother did not raise her daughter well. He should have killed her first. The victim's mother collapsed when her son-in-law could do such a thing. On the way home, she had a heart attack and fainted because of the shock. At the same time, at the police station, the inspectors were holding a meeting to investigate the case. The murderer had acted cruelly. This reminded Dahoon of his painful past. When he was still a child, Dahoon had witnessed the murder of his family. That night, after finishing work, Dahoon was surprised to see the judge waiting for her at the gate. She said that she was just taking out the trash. Dahoon told her to perform well for the trial tomorrow. The trial began. The judge asked the prosecutor to read the suspect's charges. Just as the suspect was about to plead guilty, the defense attorney stopped him. The attorney said that his client had a personality disorder. The judge looked straight into the suspect's eyes. She asked him if he had murdered his family. The suspect was afraid and avoided the judge's eyes. He muttered that he was not the murderer. The attorney sitting next to him told him to be quiet. As soon as the attorney stood up, the suspect went crazy and attacked the defense attorney. The trial gradually fell into chaos. The judge was curious about his behavior. The guards rushed in to restrain the defendant. All of suspect's personalities were shown. He asked the judge if she had finished watching the play. The trial had to be adjourned to await the results of the suspect's psychiatric examination. As soon as the suspect was brought out, a crowd of reporters surrounded him. The suspect cried and said that he was innocent. The suspect didn't know he had become the devil's target. The judge went to see the suspect after the trial ended. Despite the guards saying that he was not normal, the judge still signaled that she was fine. She coldly walked in front of the suspect. The judge asked him which personality he was now. The suspect was confused and didn't understand what the judge said. The judge smiled and said that if he could call out his evil personality, she would set him free. As soon as the judge turned to leave, the evil personality appeared. The judge smiled and asked if he had killed his entire family. He admitted it with an evil smile. The judge still wanted to continue meeting the child personality. When she saw the child personality hiding in the criminal's body, the judge laughed and left. She returned to her office, thinking that personality disorders could be separated. This was really interesting. At night, while he was being treated in the hospital, the suspect was scared when he saw the judge appear in his room in the middle of the night. He asked her in fear what she was doing here. The judge smiled and said that she was here to kill him. The judge did not expect that Dahoon was hiding under the bed. He held his breath and watched the judge's actions. The judge's eyes began to turn purple, and the sword from hell slowly appeared. The suspect was terrified when he witnessed the judge's power. Just as the judge was about to take him to hell, an arm reached out from under the bed and grabbed her leg. The judge recognized that it was the inspector, so she turned and ran away. Dahoon quickly ran to catch the judge, but she pushed him away. Dahoon quickly chased after the familiar figure, but when the judge turned onto another path, Dahoon quickly ran to grab the nurse's hand. The hospital lights turned on again, and the person in front of Dahoon was not the judge. He was confused as to where she had gone. At the same time, the judge was on the emergency stairs. She was surprised that Dahoon already knew her plan. The warden was waiting outside to assist. The two quickly retreated from the hospital. The judge changed her clothes and went home. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. Dahoon was already sitting at the door waiting for her. He coldly asked where she had been. The judge said that she had just gone for a walk. Dahoon repeated the same words that the judge had just said to the suspect. It was clearly that she had barged into the suspect's hospital room. The judge laughed and asked why Dahoon was protecting a bastard who had murdered his entire family. Dahoon said that he was just doing his job. The judge smiled and walked towards Dahoon. She asked him if he had evidence that she had been in the hospital, and if he wanted to arrest her, he should at least bring the evidence to her. A new day had begun. Today was the day of the suspect's trial. The judge was surprised that Dahoon did not appear in court. The trial officially began. The judge asked the suspect if he had anything to say. He appeared scared and said that he would absolutely not kill his wife and children. Seeing his hateful expression made the judge feel contemptuous. Just as the judge read the final verdict for the suspect, the court door suddenly